Hey guys, just had a couple of things I wanted to say before this session started. This is a session that I've probably been looking forward to to some degree or another more than any of the other ones I've done. Not in the sense that I think it'll be any better than any of the others. I just mean that typically speaking, I really do try to not think about this game when I'm not recording. I like trying to capture kind of the live event of it and try as best as possible to represent the kind of just stream of consciousness figuring it out as I go. And so I find if I think about it beforehand, it undercuts that a little bit. So usually I don't think about this game much during the week actively, but you can't help but think about it sometimes. And between last session and this session was probably the most that I've done that, to the point of literally spending moments kind of acting out characters, so way more than usual, just imagining how some of the scenes coming up might go. We'll see whether or not that's noticeable in the cut. I'm still very much approaching this with, not scripting it ahead of time, not knowing where it's going to go. But if some of the moments seem a little bit more thought out as far as dialogue and stuff like that, I have done a little bit of thinking about it in advance. And if for some reason it really doesn't show at all, and it really seems like I don't know what I'm doing, you're probably not even going to hear this part. I'm probably going to cut it out if it just did not work at all and I was struggling the whole time. So the very fact that you're hearing my voice right now kind of clues you, the listener, into the fact that apparently it went at least decently well, which means you're kind of ahead of me right now because I'm recording this before I've actually done the session. I don't know how it's going to wind up. Actually, you're both ahead and behind of me. Okay, so you in your present are ahead of me in my present, but I'm in your past. But me in your present is way ahead of you because I've already recorded various other podcast episodes. You know what? Let's just get the episode started. This is getting too convoluted. Listen to some intro music. Ooh, hey, guess what? Actually, we get to make this one more layer of complicated. Hi, this is the Midnight Jester from the future from what you were listening to before, because this is the one after having edited the episode, because I got one more thing to have to say. By listening to the episode, clearly I did not do a thorough enough sound check during the last one. And so, while I tried to clean it up as best as possible, my mic was running a little bit too hot, so it definitely does some clipping throughout. I apologize. Hopefully it's not too bad, and I'm going to do better in the future. But now, for real, listen to some intro music. Stranded in space on a ship crashing into the atmosphere of an unknown planet, Emile Spencer knew that the only way to survive would be by his own wits and guile. He vowed that somehow he would find and slay the titanic cosmic beast that put him in this predicament, VY572. With every installment, we follow Emile's explorations and discoveries on this journey of revenge against all odds. I'm Midnight Jester, and this is the Left Behind Starforge series. Well, after what felt like a session just utterly filled with complications from rolling doubles, both good and bad, Emile is still around for a next session, and here we are. Last time, Emile made the choice to try and salvage what was left of Tetrahedron, the AI that had blown up in the AI that he had tricked into shooting itself, and that did not lead into good places. Tetrahedron was able to take over Emile's little personal computer despite his attempts to ward his defenses against this, and as a result, basically the session revolved around the idea that despite having made peace with the people of Concord, Tetrahedron set the bomb off, killing a bunch of them, and now everybody blames Emile, and Shark got mortally injured, as well as a number of other people, and Emile tried to save him, and Sage tried to kill Emile, and now everybody, the whole group of them, is all trapped together underneath some rubble. Emile and Sage are having to actively keep pressure on Shark's wound in order to keep him alive, as again, they're trapped inside some rubble. It's not really a great time for anybody, and let's get back into the thick of it. But actually, I lied. Before we get into the thick of it, there is one thing that I want to do as a result of last time. Something that I have not used enough as a subsystem, and so it wasn't immediately on my mind. But last time, we definitely worked to try and develop our relationship with Shark. We determined that it was important to Emile that he stay alive. Emile risked his own life to try and save him. Shark was at least somewhat conscious during some of that, and I think it's important that we start this off by making the develop your relationship move, something that ideally would have happened at the end of last time, but we did complete our quest to save his life, at least in the moment. He's not dying as long as everybody keeps pressure on his leg. Let's take a look at this. Develop your relationship. When you reinforce your relationship with a connection by doing any of the following: swearing a vow to undertake a perilous quest in their service, which we have done that. We got a miss on that vow, and Shark was maybe only vaguely conscious to it. So I don't think that's the part that is giving us this develop our relationship. But the next one, completing a quest to their benefit. We completed the quest to just save his life when he was mortally injured, and that's the one that's allowing us to develop our relationship. Incidentally, we would also be able to get this move anytime we leverage their help in desperate circumstances, give them something of worth, share a profound moment, stand with them against hardship, or if we overcome a test of our relationship. So having completed a quest to Shark's benefit, we're going to mark progress per the rank of the connection. Now, Shark is a dangerous connection, and that's just a ranking of how important he is to this world. It doesn't mean that Shark himself is dangerous, it's just how much progress we get every time we mark progress. So since he's dangerous, I'm going to mark 2 out of his 10 boxes. If you already share a bond with the connection, I do not. We're not yet bonded to Shark. But if that were the case, instead of marking progress, we would roll their rank, we'd find out how much they impact our legacy. It works towards the end game. The real meta game of Starforge, if you're trying to get a nice ending for your character, you really want to form communities and strong connections with people. Those are the things that are most going to allow you to get a nice ending when you're ready to retire. But we'll get into that someday when perhaps Emile does. For now, though, this is a terrible place to retire. As I already said, trapped in rubble with somebody who wants to kill him and somebody who is in the process of trying to die, and they all need to work together to keep that from happening. So suffice it to say, it's tense here under the rubble. Sage wants so badly to just throttle Emile, but both of them recognize that they need their hands left on, maintaining pressure, or Shark's gonna bleed out. And Sage, we learned, does indeed care about Shark. He also wants to keep Shark alive. So they're sitting there just glowering at each other. Sage looks around at the confinement that they're in and just says to Emile, "You really are something, you son of a bitch. I should have killed you when I had the chance. I had so many chances. Why didn't I do it? Instead I get to be here." And Emile just kind of chuckles for a moment and goes, "Is that really your voice?" Sorry, you didn't speak. You weren't exactly a talkative guy before, and let's just say I don't know that you need to worry about subdermal microphones if that's what's going on. I don't know if that's even gonna pick up. They're probably just gonna think that's like the background radiation of the universe or something. Shut your goddamn mouth. You think you're so smart? Get us out of this mess, huh? What's your plan? Hacker extraordinaire? Tech wizard? How are you gonna salvage this situation, huh? And Emile says, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Give me a moment. Actually, give me your gun. That's what you can give me." "There is not a chance in hell that I'm giving you my gun right now." "No, just hear me out." "No, I'm sick of fucking hearing you out. You're just going to kill me." What good would that do in this situation? Great. Now I get to be in here with 2 corpses. I need your help to maintain pressure on Shark. As soon as I kill you, I'm just sitting here with 2 dead bodies. No, I've got an idea. At least the only idea I can think of to get out of here doesn't involve just waiting for somebody else. And, unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of else right now that's going to help from the outside. Here's my thought. You hand over your rifle. I'll tweak it. See if I can bypass some of the temperature regulation to allow it to get way too uncomfortably hot but it might allow for two things. Thing number one, can cauterize Shark's wounds, and then we don't have to keep our hands on it. Sorry, Shark, I'm sure that's not going to be the most pleasant experience, but none of this likely is. And then number two, maybe can melt some of this rock around us and get a way out of here. So what do you think? Do I just sit here starving to death, hoping that somebody eventually comes to our aid? Or maybe it's worth risking handing me the rifle. I'm not giving you the rifle. Look, think about it for just a moment. I'm not giving you the rifle and risking a goddamn thing of you having a weapon. You tell me how to modify it, and I'll do it. Oh yeah, that sounds like a plenty good idea. Let's think this through for just a moment there, Sage. You have a lot of experience tweaking electronics and doing it quickly? Because remember, we need both of our hands to keep this guy from bleeding out. Yeah, but I'm sure you're just as fast as me. You've done plenty of these kinds of modifications. That's why you came up with the plan, right? Because you're so familiar with the internals of this sort of thing. So familiar, in fact, that I'm sure you'd be able to catch if, with you handing it, you would never... And Emile starts going into all kinds of, technobabble type stuff. His plan right now, he's trying to... I'm going to try and secure an advantage here before I make this compel move. I'm trying to just befuddle Sage by giving him so many technical details and, some of them may be legitimate, some of them not. But to get him to be kind of intimidated by, the way that he might fuck this up and not be fast enough. So Emile is saying things like, surely you would know that the temperature regulation is connected to cell 2, and bypassing that, you'd be able to tell the difference between cell 2 and cell 3 and not be able, not wind up giving yourself a shock that would just immediately kill you. If I gave you the wrong instruction, or if you fucked it up, you'd notice because you're just as good as all. Stuff like that, but way better because Emile actually knows this stuff and I don't. And way faster and just way more technicalities and jargon and specifics that are just, he's trying to go fast, he's fast talking him basically. So let's secure an advantage that way to just befuddle him into being more willing to just be too intimidated to do it himself and then eventually be willing to hand the gun over. So this is going to be securing an advantage with wits, absolutely. Technically, he's fast-talking, but it's not using speed in that way. It's definitely all about... Actually, you know what? No, even though I'm not as good as it, I'm not as good at it as I am with wits, but I feel like this lies much more with deception, stealth, or trickery. Fast talk is that's definitely more in that vein. Can Emile do that well enough? He may know his shit, but... is he charismatic and tricky enough to pull off the effect? And sadly, Shadow is not something he's very good at, but we've got a decent momentum. We're starting off with 6. Let's see if we can pull this off. I'm just checking really quickly. Anything I could possibly do? No, none of my assets are going to help me here. Okay, we do have a weak hit. It is not one that I can improve with... it is not one that I can improve by burning momentum, though. So I get to choose one. I can either take +2 momentum, or I can add +1 on my next move, which, as described, was very much the point of this, this is the way to try and help out the eventual compel to, get him to give me the gun, so that I can then try and make modifications and all of that. I think the idea is just that, he'll be baffled and confused as intended, but it's short-lived. If he has too long of a moment to think about it, he'll realize, it's a ploy. And so that's why Emile's got to immediately go into this and get him to hand over the gun before he can think about it too much. So we'll have a +1 on this move, and let's just make that now, because indeed Emile goes straight into the compel, where he eyes that moment where Sage's eyes are just kind of darting around, clearly looking back and forth from Emile to Shark to the gun and looking around it, and Emile catches this and sees okay, he's clearly thinking about it all. He's not able to keep up with everything I'm saying, and he's not clocking it as just bullshit. So this is the moment. So hand over that gun. If either of us is going to do it quickly enough, it's going to be me. I promise you. I can do it fast enough. And Emile looks over to Shark, who's still conscious and groaning a little bit, and goes, "You trust me, right, buddy? I can do this." And I'm going to leave it up to the move whether or not Shark believes me, or Shark backs me up, because I think maybe if I miss, or if I don't get the strong hit I'm looking for, maybe part of that is represented in that Shark doesn't back me up. So let's let the dice kind of determine how he feels about it. Gonna make a compel here. This part is not a lie. I'm not threatening him or inciting him. This is just trying to, like, charm, pacify, encourage, or barter. This is kind of like a barter, but that all falls into heart. I give myself a +1 from the secure and advantage we did, and let's see. It is a miss, and I can't improve that with momentum. So as I was just saying, I think what that represents is Emile makes that last mistake of he looks over to Shark and he asks Shark to back him up and says, "You'll back me up, right, buddy? I can do this fast enough." And Shark he's afraid for his life. And maybe if Emile hadn't said anything, Sage would have just handed over the gun. But Emile checked in, and Shark just goes, "I don't know. I'm not feeling so good there. Rich. You're fast, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. Maybe it's best we just wait things out, yeah?" And so as a result, Sage, let's see, he either refuses or makes a demand that costs you greatly. He refuses to hand over the gun. He doesn't make a demand that costs Emile greatly. He just refuses to hand over the gun, which was what the compel was about. And Sage just says, "If you really think that's a plan that's going to work, it's going to have to go through my hands. I'm not giving you another weapon. You've shown how much you can be trusted with one." And then he spits directly in Emile's face. So Emile goes, "All right, well, I don't trust you to be able to pull it off. I don't think you can do it in time, and I'm not going to let Shark die. So what we need to do is find a way we need to staunch your bleeding before we can get started on this. I'll talk you through it, but we need to get Shark patched up first. Shark, what do you have on you? You were getting geared up for a salvage job, yeah? I don't suppose you have anything on you that we could use as a tourniquet. I know they're not the most comfortable thing, but they can't be any worse than what we're doing to you right now, and imagine they'd work a little bit more effectively. You wearing a belt?" And I think that's likely. Well, I'm gonna ask the Oracle on this, but I think it's very likely that between all of them, between Sage and Shark, somebody there has a belt, preferably Shark. We're going to set that as almost certain, that he's got a belt or something like that could be cinched around. All right. Does he have it? Yes. Shark has a belt. And he goes, "All right. I'm still going to have to be really fast." Because I think that the part of the problem is that, these guys they're geared up for the outside atmosphere. And we described how they had to be kind of covered head to toe with all kinds of these long flowing robes and scarves and stuff around their faces. So the belt is hidden beneath some layers of thick material. He goes, I'll be really quick. I'll get it. We'll tie you off. And then we'll have a little bit more time to think about this sort of thing. Because I'm going to be honest, buddy. My hands are getting a little bit tired here. I don't know how much longer I can maintain this kind of pressure. You've always been the strong one. And Shark, he grits his teeth a little bit and nods and goes, Okay. I'm ready. Go. And Emile, from the jump, he takes off his hands, and we're going to make a face danger move with Edge right now as he tries to go as quickly as possible to indeed get this belt out from under the out from under the various layers and out around from his body and ready to be used as a tourniquet. This is going to be done as a secure and advantage as well, because this really is about setting up the eventual attempt to we're going to make a heal move on Shark, and this is setting that up, is just getting the right kind of material to be able to tie off a tourniquet. It's going to be this, and probably there are pieces of rubble nearby that could be used kind of like a piece of rebar or something that he could use to twist it around and get it super, super tight, like a proper tourniquet. So let's see what he can do. Oh, you know what, actually? This definitely qualifies. I am securing an advantage to cobble together an ad hoc tool, device, or weapon. So we're making a tourniquet out of what's available. On a hit, I'll get to add +1 when making the move aided by the item. It's like the first time I'm making something that's not a bomb, and we should probably stop making bombs given that every single one I've made so far has blown up in Emile's face. Literally. So let's do the edge move. Alright, it's a weak hit. We cannot improve this with momentum, but a weak hit is still a hit, so our asset does come to play. We'll get to add +1 when we're making it, or when we're using it. And again, I get to choose one. Take 2 momentum or add +1 to my next move. I think I'm going to take the 2 momentum, representing just that, the pace is really picking up here. It's not such a great device that I would get yet another +1. I wasn't that incredibly fast or anything. Like, it was awkward. I was fumbling around. He's losing blood. He's starting to get a little bit pale. The pace has to pick up here. The time is such an essence. So I take 2 momentum, and now we're going to do the heal move. I am providing treatment. Provide care, I roll wits. I'll get to add the +1 from my improvised tourniquet. Oh my god! Those challenge dice! They do not want this to go very well. No matter what I had taken on that secure an advantage, it would not have helped me. This is a full-on miss, if you haven't gotten the impression. I rolled terribly on my action die, and the challenge dice came to play. Neither one of them can be canceled by momentum, so it is a full miss that I can do nothing about. The aid is ineffective and the situation worsens. Pay the price. Now, if this were a miss with a match, Shark would just have bled out. He'd be dead. But it's just a miss. So I think there's still an opportunity. He's fully unconscious at this point, losing blood quickly. Clearly, Emile's having trouble getting this to actually... Oh, I rolled a 1 on my action die. That is part of my scavenger thing. If I roll a 1 on my action die while using the item, it is permanently broken, lost, or depleted. So the situation worsens. The belt snaps. I tighten it in a way it's not able to withstand the pressure. It snaps before we can actually... Perhaps it staunches the blood flow for a moment, but I over-tighten it, trying to be overzealous with it. It snaps, and then it just starts pouring out again. And Emile just goes, fuck. There's no time. In fact, we're definitely putting a clock on this right now. 4-segment clock that I'm already going to fill in 2 segments, because I think it should really be a 2-segment clock. He is bleeding out quickly. I guess this is a... We'll treat it like a... I'm not going to literally swear a vow right now, but I'm going to treat it like a troublesome vow to just get the bleeding stopped in time. So there we go. It's functionally a 2-segment clock that's troublesome. Emile has no time. He's eyeing over at Sage's rifle and just like screaming at Sage, just like, you don't understand. There's no time. Give it to me right now. And Sage is like, he's too shocked in the moment to like do the right thing. He's just kind of a deer in headlights. And Emile is going to try and just wrestle it from his hands, because failing anything else, there's a strap on the rifle that he could use to try and cinch the wound close as well. Like some additional attempt to try and just staunch the blood flow. And so even though Emile is terrible at it, I think this is an iron move. This is just an iron face danger to try and just wrestle this gun away from Sage. Let's do it. I don't like my odds. At least I've got momentum on my side. Not like that, though. Not when the action dice are a 10 and an 8. Whew, I tried, but it's another full-on miss. You fail, or a momentary success is undermined by a dramatic turn of events. Fill a clock segment and pay the price. So we're up to 3 clock segments as all of the color has just left Shark's face at this point. He looks near a corpse. There's just blood all over the grounds that they're wrestling around in. And I think just, wrestling over a gun, the odds of it going off seem incredible. Now, it's not a miss with a match, so I'm not going to make it possible that Shark gets hit by it, and it wouldn't be a miss if Sage got hit by it, so that means Emile definitely gets shot by this rifle while they're wrestling over it. It goes off. He's only got 1 health. I think being shot by a laser rifle is definitely a 2 health sort of thing. So that brings him down to 0, and then he has to lose a momentum because that was too much. And let's try and endure harm. I hope this goes okay. It's a miss. I could burn momentum to turn it into a weak hit, because on a miss, it's worse than I thought. I would suffer an additional -1 health, or lose momentum too, so my momentum would drop by 2, and this would wound me. Or I'd officially have a wound, which is a lasting thing. That would be terrible. I think I have to burn this for the weak hit. That would allow me to exchange 1 momentum for 1 health, which is what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, I had to burn momentum first, so my momentum is at +2. Then I have to exchange that down to +1 just to get the 1 health back. Oh, it's in a bad way, but thankfully this represents that clearly it was a little bit, it wasn't like a gut shot or anything. It grazed me and really burns and demonstrates just how much heat output this thing can do. But it ends with Emile on the ground holding his side and Sage now holding the rifle at his face and goes, "What the fuck do you think you're doing? Get your hands back on him! That's an order!" And Emile still is just like, it's not gonna last. I can't do it anymore after you fucking shot me. Tie the goddamn shoulder strap around his leg and pull as hard as you can. And I don't think that's something Sage would possibly refuse to do. That's just a good idea. So I suppose the way I'll represent this is, even though it's hard to consider us allies at the moment, I'm kind of acting in direct support of an ally by giving him the idea. So I suppose what I'm doing is securing an advantage with wits by just telling him, like, the right thing to do in this moment to stop the bleeding. Actually, I suppose what I'm doing is I'm securing an advantage with heart. This is with resolve, command, or sociability. I'm telling him the right thing to do, even though it incorporates wits to let him, like, this is the smart thing to do, but it's really just about getting him to do the right thing here. So let's roll that heart. It's another weak hit, and even if I hadn't burned all that momentum, I still wouldn't have been able to turn this into anything stronger than that. But I am successful, which thankfully means we don't fill the clock, which is good, because we have not done anything to staunch his bleeding. I could take 2 momentum back, or add +1 to my next move. I think in this moment, I need the moves to go better. We need to save Shark. I don't want him to die here. But I don't get to mark progress yet. So +1 on the next move. Emile is going to, after he kind of like winces through a bit of the pain of having been shot, Sage has unclipped the shoulder strap from the rifle. He's wrapped it around and is pulling it as tight as he can. But Emile is going to again like try and make this more official by getting that piece of like a piece of rebar or something to like get it nice and twisted and really, really tight to make this actually like something that could hold and truly stop the bleeding. This is the face danger with expertise, focus, or observation. So it's another wits one, because it's like he's healing him. And then we get to have our +1. Come on, game. Help me out here. That was so close to a double 10 complication. It barely didn't land on the second 10. We got a weak hit, but there was a 10. You're successful and mark progress, but also encounter a complication or setback, envision what occurs, and fill a clock segment. So we'll get to mark progress once. Once on this getting the bleeding to stop in time. We'll have filled 3 segments, and then we're going to have to fill the valve. So I think just the complication can't just be like that he fully bled out, because we're going to see how this how this resolves to find out whether or not it was enough or if we did it in time. We don't know. I'm not liking his odds. So we need a different complication or setback. Perhaps that should be in all this time. Okay, the complication, it's not as much of a complication for this exact moment, but the setback is going to be that in getting this additional piece of rebar, like part of Emile had to really like tug it out from, it was kind of trapped beneath some of the rubble, and the pile shifts a little bit. And not too big of a piece, but some of it crumples in, and like this big ass rock falls directly onto his, the little computer on his hip. damaging it to the point where he's not going to be able to use it until he takes time to repair it with like a better environment than this. He'll need like real tools and everything, like a workstation. He's not going to be able, his AR just winks out. He doesn't have any benefit from that. The computer is offline. It's not like permanently destroyed or anything like that, but it needs some serious repairs. And then we'll find out if Shark died. So let's see. Treating this as if we're finishing a vow, at least as far as we're rolling challenge dice against it. So let's see. Progress roll with 3 progress. Yeah, I mean, the odds were terrible. Oh, it's a full-on miss, and of course it is. So we tried, we were not fast enough, and Shark just absolutely he bleeds out. And Emile is like, just loses it in there for a bit because he knows it's his fault. This is definitely, let's see. If this were an Iron Vow, which again, he didn't vow it, but had we missed on that, it would have been, your vow is undone through an unexpected complication or realization. Envision what happens and choose one. Either give up on the quest, in which case we'd forsake our vow, or recommit to the quest. Like, none of this really applies because he's not actually a vow. The way I'm going to ad hoc rule this is just that miss. It completely robs his spirit. It's not a bond, so I'm not going to have him lose all 3 of his spirit, but I'm definitely going to have him lose 2. The fact that this person that he had just sworn a vow about how he's going to clear Shark's name, and one of the first things he did killed him. It's his fault. Shark is dead. It's his fault that Shark lost his leg. It's his fault. Shark even wanted to just wait. He is able to coerce him into getting him to try this, and he failed him. He failed at making his tourniquet. It snapped. He suffers 2 spirit as a result of all of this, and we're definitely going to endure stress. So I get to roll the highest of my heart or spirit. Thankfully, I've got a decent heart. But the challenge dice, they are being mean today. They are out for blood. Shark's blood. On a miss, it's worse than you thought. Suffer an additional -1 spirit, or lose momentum -2. I can't afford to lose 2 momentum right now. I mean, I could, but it would be terrible. If your spirit is 0, you also mark shaken or traumatized, which it's not 0 at the moment. It'll be 0 after I lose this 1 right now, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm now in danger of getting just utterly shaken, traumatized, all that stuff. Emile's in a bad way. In a bad way. And I think that part of what this represents is we're going to fast forward. Like, they don't trust each other. They're not able to help each other. Emile isn't even able to cobble his thoughts together to, like, be able to convince Sage that, like, how to, like, configure this rifle to get them out of there or anything like that. They just have to wait it out. And I'm going to roll some oracles to determine, like, how long does it take before somebody from the outside can rescue them? Because there are people that are alive that weren't there in the explosion. Eventually somebody's going to rescue them, and then Emile is going to be in a really bad place. You know, and to think that I started this whole intro off by saying, like, I've been really looking forward to this, and then this is like the darkest it's been for Emile. All right. I think it is almost certain that somebody will find them within, 2 weeks. That within 2 weeks, somebody will have been able to clear the rubble and get them out of here. It is certain that somebody's going to rescue them. Can somebody do it within 2 weeks? Almost certain. The result is yes. Now we're going to do this the way I like to do it, where we're going to move down the categories, shorten the period of time, and make it less and less likely. I think it is likely that somebody will find them within 1 week. No, I rolled a 100 on that. That would have failed any odds. Okay, so they are here somewhere between a week and 2 weeks. Just growing devastated. Health is... I feel like fictionally that represents, like, I should probably set health to 0. They're starving in here. Enough time goes by, though, that, like, they've had a chance to... Emile has had a chance to think about this all a little bit, and, like, they've slept. they've had opportunity to feel like nobody's going to rescue them, and perhaps that's enough to spur him on to like trying to do this again. It has been quiet and tense in here this whole time. I think a week has passed where they've just basically just been on opposite sides of this and never said anything to each other. Emile has basically spent the whole time wondering, like, every time he goes to sleep, is Sage just going to strangle him in his sleep, or is he just going to shoot him? Something like that. Like, he doesn't know why Sage hasn't killed him. His best thought is just, maybe Sage is just as depressed and not willing to do it. He doesn't want to be in here with yet another dead body, because obviously Shark's body has been sitting here for a week too. Just this constant depressing vision. But eventually, after days have passed, a week has passed and they're still waiting, Emile finally says something for the first time, because he's not going to give up. He finds it in him to... No, I don't think he expects Sage will possibly... Okay, so here's the question. Sage doesn't trust Emile. What does he do when he goes to sleep to make sure that Emile doesn't use the gun? I think Sage sleeps like on top of the gun to make sure that like there's no way that Emile can get it without him noticing. So he sleeps terribly. And one night, when Sage finally goes to sleep, Emile recognizes that, like, if he doesn't try something, even if they do get rescued, they're just going to kill him. Maybe not now, but there's no way he's making it out of this anymore. And he starts getting the kind of fight or flight feelings of, it's him or me. And with Emile's spirit all the way at 0, he's in a dark place. And he's definitely starting to think that much as he doesn't want to do it, he may just have to... The only way out of this may be just killing Sage. Or at least being able to steal the gun so that he can work on it. He doesn't want to have to kill him, but he's reached that level where he's willing to. If that's what it takes to get out of here, he'll kill him. Yeah, you know what? I'm just running through how this could possibly go in my head, and like, I don't think that, like, Emile sits there in the darkness thinking about how he's going to do it. He sees Sage's sleeping form, just breathing in, breathing out. He really doesn't want more death here, but he especially doesn't want more death for himself. And he plots out, like, so what do I do? How do I make sure I get out of here? He imagines himself taking the gun from under his forearm and just sees that no matter how slowly and carefully he does it, no matter how precise, there's no way he can get it to just come out from underneath Sage's back without him waking up during the process. There's no way he can be that smooth. And he imagines himself taking the cord from around his hip that he tried to use as a tourniquet before, that can no longer connect to a computer, and he imagines himself strangling him with that, but he knows that would take time, and he's not that strong of a person or anything. He just sees it turning around and failing, and he's weak from not having eaten in a week. He doesn't think he could pull that off. And then his mind looks around, and he sees there's all this rubble here. And if he can summon the strength to lift up one of the rocks around here over Sage's head and just drop it, gravity will do the rest. And if it doesn't kill him outright, it's got to get him damn close and not able to fight back, and then he could do the rest. As Emile thinks over his various options, he realizes that's the best one he's got. He's going to have to be careful and quiet, and it's going to be hard. Going to be very hard, because he is indeed feeling that weak. He has to find just the right rock. He can't make too much jostling around, and he certainly doesn't want to cave this in like before. He's got to move it in position quietly. And then once he's done that, he should be able to just drop it. Let's represent this as first securing an advantage with wits. He needs to find just the right rock. He's finding that loosest Jenga piece, basically. The one that's not going to topple the tower if he pulls it out. Something that's just the right size, heavy enough to cause massive damage when he drops it on his face. Not so heavy that he'd struggle to lift it up in his current form. Just the right rock. Securing an advantage with wits. It's a weak hit, but it is a hit. I can either take +2 momentum or I can take 1 on my next move. My momentum is so low right now, I just need the +1 on the move. He finds that rock. And it's weird. He's so used to being able to have the benefit of his AR display to really calculate. It could have given him all sorts of information on like the rock position and calculate for him the best one, but he couldn't. So it takes him a while as he's already practicing trying to just like breathe and move as quietly as possible. Like every turn of his head, he's trying to make without making a sound, but he finds the right rock. And now he needs to get it into position above Sage's head without waking it up. He needs to be very quiet, which again, he's not great with shadow, but at least he has the +1. So this is a face danger. Definitely attempting something risky in this moment. Face danger with shadow, +1. Basically no momentum to help me out. If we do this, all he's got to do is let go, and the killing of Sage will be near automatic. We'll let the dice determine whether he's dead or just... He'll definitely be incapacitated. The oracles will let us know. Strong hit. On a strong hit, you are successful. Take +1 momentum. So my momentum goes up to +2. Emile, quiet as the specter of death, manages, despite his weakness, he gets this rock lifted up in the air above Sage's sleeping form. He turns away because he doesn't want to look. He feels so bad about like this is not how he sees himself, but his hand, he feels like he's been forced. And he waits. He can't will himself to do it. So he takes the coward's way, which is he waits until his arms are shaking, he's too weak and he can't hold it anymore. And so he, quote, accidentally drops it, and it just happens to be in the wrong place. He doesn't make an active decision, but he definitely allows himself to do this directly to Sage. So I am going to mark progress on I will not die on Cinder. I'm going to find a way off this hellhole. And Sage's face is just crushed by this rock. His legs are kicking and everything. I am going to ask the Oracle whether or not he is alive. Emile does not know. Emile definitely does not know. Sage will not be able to do anything anymore, one way or the other, but we're going to find out as the audience whether or not he is alive. And if you at home don't want to know, if you want the tension of not knowing whether or not Sage could possibly come back later, skip ahead. I have made sure that this takes, in editing, exactly 15 seconds. So when you hear me say the word go, if you don't want to know, if you want it to be a surprise, just skip ahead 15 seconds. You won't miss any content. You'll just miss the answer to whether or not Sage is alive. All right. If you don't want to know, I am now officially saying go. I'm putting it actually as 50-50 because I think it's, in order to be just a big enough rock for Emile to carry, he couldn't lift it that high over his head. There's a chance it's just crushed in his face but didn't outright kill him. 50-50, is Sage still alive? No. So Emile finally musters the courage to look over at what he could hear the kicking around and everything, and he sees Sage's body just sitting there limply, blood pooling out from underneath the rock. And he gets to work. He starts grabbing at the gun that's underneath him, and Now there's not really anything standing in his way to do that, so he's able to kind of get his hands underneath, yank the rifle out from underneath Sage, and now he knows, like, he's of one mind now. It's just get to work ad hocing this device, because otherwise I have to be alone with my thoughts in this room with, at least as far as he's concerned, 2 dead bodies. So, let's do this as secure an advantage. He's basically using that scavenger capability once more. He's securing an advantage to cobble together an ad hoc tool, device, or weapon. He doesn't have the benefit of his computer, but thankfully, both the other bodies in this room were coming ready to start doing a salvage operation where they were going to be manipulating tech. They were going to have to get at the power core inside the other ship. So there are tools around. Ways to loosen screws and, like, do work. Like, the people were generally equipped to get maintenance work done. So now that there's nobody in his way, Emile is able to he can rifle through their body and everything, find the right kind of stuff. They've got all the right stuff around here. So I'm going to secure... That is enough narrative justification to be able to try and cobble this tool together. So he's going to secure an advantage to try and... Basically what he's doing, it's more or less what he was describing. The idea is he takes apart the laser rifle a little bit, is able to bypass part of, like, a circuit that ordinarily regulates how much power goes to the right parts, is able to get it to the point where hopefully the barrel basically acts like a welding torch or something, like just some kind of super hot tip that he could use to try and melt his way out of here in more of a sustained way rather than actually firing it out. Just, it's long work, it's all kinds of modifications, but he's going to try and do that to see if he can just melt his way through this rock. Let's see how it goes. This is definitely with wits. Oh, and you know what? This seems like it qualifies for my gearhead. I am making a move to craft, repair, repurpose, or modify equipment or technology. So I get to add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. Let's give ourselves a +1 from that. Definitely applies. That's one we don't get a lot of use out of. Not as much as I'd like to. It is a weak hit, which is a hit. We'll take +1 momentum from it. And we get to choose one. Add 1 to our next move or take another 2 momentum. So if I got all of that, that would set me to 5 momentum, which is still not great. It's getting up there, though. So it's that or take the 1 on our move. I think it's better to just take the 1 on my move right now. At least our momentum is 3. We're still working our way up the track. I need that +1. Yeah. So he makes it. He has this device. Oh, and especially because we're going to have an additional +1 from the item itself that I just made. So between those two things, we'll have a +2 on this. That should really, really help when I make long work to just try and get our way out of here. It's just going to be done as one face danger move, where Emile tries to just melt his way through. He uses this device and just melts his way out of the rock. Let's see how this goes. Another wits move. And this will determine how it all goes. Now, as is not too surprising, when we were able to add a total of, of my 3 wits and 2 adds to that, we got a strong hit. It worked pretty well. We're successful and take +1 momentum. So now it's starting to come together. It is long work. I'm going to say another... yeah, his device is successful, but it still takes another day. It's another day of working at this, like Andy Dufresne trying to break his way out of Shawshank, just slowly melting through this thick rock. Because he's got to be careful about how he does it as well. Like, again, he doesn't want it to cave in on him. So it's slow, methodical work that's just making... He's just got very little else to do, so he might as well. But eventually, he gets through, and it's hard to tell at first because the hangar is just filled with the ash from the outside. It is hard to see. It's blowing around. Clearly the doors have not been able to close. They have not been able to pull that off and repair it or anything like that. They're just blown open. It's hard to tell if there's anybody around. I am going to give myself another tick on my I will not die on Cinder. I'm going to find a way off this hellhole, because now he's starting to feel like he could think of ways. His path forward is going to be a complicated one, but he knows that the ship that they were going to salvage, if it's still there, he knows it's flyable. It just needs to be refueled. He knows maybe he could get to the Reacher and refuel it. There's a path forward. There's a way that he can get off this utter hellhole. Before he does, he knows that the environment's going to be really caustic out there. So he takes anything he could find from the bodies to try and cover up that little bit more. Actually, I suppose he wouldn't have to. Emile is already covered up from his venture that he went out. The first time he got out there, he's got enough covering. He just doesn't have the rebreather. And he knows, like, he does not want to be breathing this environment very long. So that's the first thing he turns his attention to, is searching the area, finding either ideally his rebreather, because it was a real nice one, or just anybody's, something to be able to not be breathing in this atmosphere any longer. So he takes a deep breath from the inside, where it's presumably at least a little bit better of air from being trapped inside the rocks. And then he starts booking it. Let's do this as a secured advantage with Edge. Because he knows where he was when his rebreather got knocked out of his... Like, he knows where he got knocked out of the wall and roughly where to look. He knows where he was when he was rushing out. Like, he hasn't been that far. He's been thinking about this for a long time. He knows where to go. It's not finding it that's the problem. It's doing it quickly while holding his breath and everything. Is he fast enough after having been starving for, like, at least a week? Can he get this before he has to take in a deep breath? No, I'm sorry. I need to represent this properly. Holding his breath, that's an iron thing. It's not about speed. It's about the endurance. Strength, endurance, or aggression. He's holding his breath. Secure an advantage with iron. All right, even though he's bad at iron, I did get a weak hit. Not enough I can do anything with momentum, but it's once again the option 2 momentum or +1 on my next move. Now I think I'm going to take the 2 momentum to really build this up. He's starting to get this together. He gets his rebreather. He's able to hold his breath the entire way. He's just about to lose it, but finds it. Actually, no, I think because this is a weak hit and not a strong hit, he doesn't find his rebreather. It's not the really nice one that he got from the Reacher that can, like, be hooked up to it's not a smart device that could be designed. It's just somebody's, like, crappy functional rebreather, but it's not as sophisticated. But he finds one in time just as he's about to gasp for air. And that first breath, as he gets it in his mouth and, like, the filter is all activated, he takes in this gasping deep breath and then starts thinking ahead on, all right, he has to get to he needs to be able to refuel the ship that's on the ground outside if it's still there. It's going to require getting fuel from the Reacher, which is probably stupid far away. Like, he'd have to travel by vehicle to get there. Walking there would just be unreasonable. It fell out of orbit in a very different location. So he's got 2 choices, really. Either we know there's a little bit of fuel left in the ship that he wants to eventually steal. He can either fly it over there, which sounds complicated and hard to pull off, or see if he can find a remaining skiff. One that is perhaps, like, damaged, but not so much that he couldn't get it going, and take a skiff over there. And he's certainly going to go for that option to see if it's possible. I'm going to treat this like I'm scavenging, because I basically am. This is basically a wreck, ruin, or abandoned site, at least for the moment. I'm gathering information to find a working skiff, or at least one that could be reparable, and I could within a short amount of time get it to go at least a little bit of a distance. Let's see how that works. Gather information. Because I'm a scavenger, I get to add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. This is definitely using wits to just best assess the wreckage, like which ones are which ones are at all possible. I've got my +1 from Scavenger, and let's see. It's a weak hit. That is a hit, so I get to add 1 momentum. Building myself back up. The information provides new insight, but also complicates my quest. Envision what you discover, then take +1 momentum. So that's another +1. I'm actually up to 8 momentum now. I've built it back up. The complication is just, it's definitely not one that's currently flying. Like, you'd have to fix it up. It's not ready to go. It got wrecked. It got pretty blasted in the explosion, but his keen observation lets him know that, like, you could fix this up, but not with the tools he currently has on hand. He needs something more heavy duty than what he has. And he'll need to find that somewhere else in the rest of this base. Now we know Emile is not especially stealthy on his own. He's not really built for this operation to just go in, sneak around, and find the right tools to be able to sneak his way back out of here. So how well this is actually going to go for him? Well, that's a question for next time. Oh man, that was a really intense one. I love this game so much. So much that I am going to say, you know, I've always been using these outros to ask you to do things for me. It's high time we do this a little bit differently. The call to action during the outro this week has nothing to do with this podcast. Instead, let's change it up a little bit. What I want you to do, rather than like and subscribe or anything like that, nah, screw that. I want you, if you have not already played this game, you have to play your first session. As you see, you can do this entirely by yourself, with entirely no prep. I just make this up as I'm going along. So if you don't have a copy, go to either ironswornrpg.com, which will redirect to the real site, which I think is tompkinpress.com. The link is in the show notes. Go to that website, get a copy of Ironsworn, which is entirely free, or ideally, Starforged itself. Buy yourself a copy, support this wonderful man who's made this wonderful game, and play your first session. Please, that's the call to action this week. If you've been putting it off, this is the moment to finally do it. You can just get such amazing stuff out of it. And if for some reason that's too much for you, if you're still not ready to do all of that, but you do want to do something creative, well, I've got the prompts. This time, I'm going to be asking for a game that people play. Think about a game that a society might play based on the following prompts: betray and pride. What does that make you think of? Send your game ideas over to starforgedpod@gmail.com, along with anything else you just might want to say to me for whatever reason. I'm sure at the very least something I've done so far has been really annoying. Why don't you just tell me how annoying I am? I'd still just welcome the feedback. starforgedpod@gmail.com once again. And now that I'm running out of things to say, and honestly I'm really looking forward to stopping this podcast so that I can go play some more blueprints, I'm just gonna say, play me out, music.